After today's hearing to determine whether Donald Trump violated the gag order, the former president lashed out at Judge Juan Merchan in a scorching rant outside the courtroom again. Before I play it, let me be clear on what I've said previously, right? I thought Judge Merchan should have recused himself from the case at the outset based on the perception of bias, because the judge made a $15 donation to President Biden's 2020 campaign, a pair of $10 donations to a pair of progressive voter turnout groups. And as modest as they were, I thought, from an optics standpoint, the judge should step aside, let another judge take the case. I've also said that I thought this case shouldn't have been brought at all, right? But with all that said, Judge Merchan has actually shown himself to be pretty fair to the former president, at least thus far. But it feels like his actual rulings don't seem to matter.
But I'm not allowed to say anything. I just have to sit back and look at why a conflicted judge has ordered me to have a gag order. I don't think anybody's ever seen anything like this.
Trump attacked the judge on social media during a recess this morning, saying, quote, highly conflicted, to put it mildly. Judge Juan Merchan has taken away my constitutional right to free speech. Everybody's allowed to talk and lie about me, but I'm not allowed to defend myself as a kangaroo court, and the judge should recuse himself. But here's the thing. As angry as Trump may have been after watching his lawyer get dressed down in open court today, his lawyer sort of deserved it. You know, as they went through each statement that may have violated the gag order, and Trump attorney Todd Blanche couldn't identify exactly what the former president was supposedly responding to when he made the comments. And as much as Trump claims Judge Merchan is out to get him, his rulings and conduct thus far just don't back it up. I mean, just on the gag order, right? It's clear that even if Trump was responding to what people said when he attacks witnesses in the case or family members of court employees, that's clearly a violation. I don't think the judge's daughter has attacked him. And yet the judge didn't just slap sanctions on Trump right on the spot. He could have done it last week. He said he allowed the defense the time they requested to respond to the allegations in writing and held a formal hearing this week. And there's a lot more, right, throughout jury selection. Judge Merchan seemed to go to great lengths to try to make sure that the jurors were not biased against Donald Trump, including one notable instance where he dismissed a member of the panel after Trump's attorney presented social media posts in which the prospective juror said things about Donald Trump. Judge said, yeah, person shouldn't be on the jury. He denied prosecutors' request to play the infamous Access Hollywood tape in court, where Trump is heard about talking about grabbing women's vaginas and ruling that it would be overtly prejudicial. Okay, that was a big deal. It was a close call legally. Prosecutors would have loved to get that tape in front of the jury. They made an argument about why it was relevant. But they may have wanted it just to remind them of one of Trump's most infamous moments. The judge said no. Is that the ruling of an anti-Trump zealot? Judge Merchan also ruled that prosecutors will not be allowed to introduce sexual misconduct allegations against Trump from 8 women. Another big decision in Trump's favor politically and legally, calling the allegations, quote, complete hearsay and ordering they not be mentioned. And then there was yesterday's hearing where the judge was deciding what prosecutors could bring up if Donald Trump testifies. And when a defendant testifies, a lot more dirt is admissible. Prosecutors wanted to cross-examine Trump about 13 different findings against him from prior civil cases involving Trump and the Trump Corporation. The judge rejected more than half of the requests from prosecutors, which drastically limits the scope of their potential questioning. That's a judge who seems to be bending over backwards, at least for the perception of fairness. And yet Trump has made it a daily ritual before walking into court each morning to attack Judge Merchan.
The judge is conflicted, as you know. It's very unfair what's going on. We have a Trump-hating judge. We have a judge who shouldn't be on this case. He's totally conflicted. The conflict has to end with the judge. The judge has a conflict, the worst I've ever seen. And it has to end with the judge.
And over on Fox News, many of the hosts also haven't been paying much attention to the actual rulings from the judge.
They know they have a judge in their pocket.
This is not America. This is a kangaroo court with a kangaroo judge whose daughter's making millions.
Look, If Trump and his allies want to go after the prosecutor, right, I get it. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg brought this case more than 4 years after federal prosecutors accused Trump of violating the law with what seems like the same facts. The feds decided not to charge him. DA Bragg seemed to bow to political pressure and bring the case. That's my take on it, which hangs on a sort of novel legal theory. I'm convinced that Bragg was trying to protect himself from attacks from the left. Not a commentary on the actual guilt, just on whether the case should have been brought at all this many years later. But Judge Merchan's done nothing to warrant being lumped in with Alvin Bragg. He's clearly mindful of how his rulings will be perceived by not just the appellate courts, but by the public. Just 2 days in, he already has a litany of decisions he can point to, which shows he's not just doing the prosecutor's bidding. Trump is just so determined to sow distrust and undermine the credibility of the system, he's going after anyone and everyone who isn't 100% on his side, whether they deserve it or not. The former president can try to spin the political affiliations of the judge's daughter all he wants. It doesn't change the fact that Judge Merchan should be assessed based on his actions, his actual rulings. And as hard as it may be for him to admit, Judge Merchan has been exceedingly fair, at least so far. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.